All right, everybody, welcome to our very special workshop with Ashley Doan. We are going to be talking all about how to establish yourself as an expert, trusted expert in your niche using blogging. And Ashley is here to share her wisdom with us. Hey, Ashley.
Hello, Lindsay.
How are you doing?
I am stoked. I'm excited. I'm caffeinated. I'm ready to roll.
Yeah, if you don't know Ashley yet, we were just talking about this before we started recording, and coffee is queen, maybe princess, maybe you're the queen. I don't know how that works. Coffee's right up there. Maybe coffee's your king. Oh my gosh. Okay, Ashley, we are so excited for what you're going to share with us. So I'm going to go ahead and put myself on mute and hand over the reins to you so you can blow our minds.
Awesome. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, everybody. In the past couple of weeks when I've been doing, presentations like this, I always like to start with saying thank you. Thank you to everybody who's coming live. I know that your calendar is filled with Zoom meetings and trainings and seminars and workshops. And I really do appreciate you taking the time to come live or to actually watch the recording afterwards. You're going to get a lot of value. We're going to have some fun. This is not a boring university lecture. I'm going to have some fun with it. There's some crazy images in here. You'll see what I mean as we go along. And I hope by the end you have a good overview of how you can use blogging as part of your full content strategy to grow your business. So very firstly, why am I here? Why am I spending my Monday afternoon with you talking about blogging? Blogging is one of the best ways to show your expertise because everyone here is an expert in something. But if the world doesn't know that you're an expert, it's not going to do you any good. Blogging is one of the great ways to provide value. People want valuable information, stories, tips. They want value. It's a great way to increase visitors on your website, and we'll touch on this just briefly today on how it can increase visitors to your website and how it can keep them on your website longer. Because we know that the longer someone will engage with your brand on your website in person, the more likely they are to eventually buy from you. It'll also give your site some SEO love, which is search engine optimization. In a nutshell, it's how Google will show your website as opposed to that person's website. I will go very briefly into that today. Search engine optimization is a whole course. It's a whole thing, but I will give you some actionable things to get going. But before we go too far into it, who the heck is this WriterGal we keep hearing about? This is WriterGal. I have been writing professionally for 15 years. I started off my career in magazine publishing, went into some corporate work for years, and then I had 2 kids in 2 years and decided that 9 to 5 was not for me. I didn't like having a boss. I didn't like being there 9 to 5. I wanted to make my own schedules. I wanted to make my own work. I wanted to choose my own clients who I wanted to work with. So I started WriterGal Marketing Services about 3 years ago. 3 years ago now. My daughter turned 1 because today is actually her 4th birthday. So when she turned 1, I started my business. So 3 years. And ever since then, I've been helping clients with their content marketing, with their blogging, social media, website content, anything written for their business. Now, in the past year, I've realized that, I've been around the block a few times here. I'm good at what I do. It's time to start, sharing what I do, sharing my processes, my secrets, everything with people, because I know not everybody wants to hire a professional blogger, a professional writer. Some people, like a lot of people here, probably want to do it yourself. You want to at least learn the basics so that when you hire somebody, or to do it yourself. Now, something else I think I briefly mentioned too is that I'm a mom and I've got 2 kids. So being able to balance my kids, myself, my work, my friends, my business, it takes a lot of balancing. So something you'll see is everything that I'm going to teach you is the efficient way to do it, is the easy way to do it so that it doesn't have to be difficult. By the end of this, I don't want anyone to be still thinking blogging's too difficult. It's too long. It's going to take up too much of my time. So everything I'm going to show you today is the easy way to do it so that you keep doing it longer. So let's get into it. Blogging basics. There is a marketing formula to making a sale. You may have heard this if you've been around for a little while. Know plus like plus trust equals a conversion. People need to know you exist. They need to like you, and they need to trust that you are going to provide them with that high level of whatever that is that you offer. So blogging helps you build up that know, like, and trust. With your blog, people know you exist. They start to like you because you're providing them with all this free content, and then they trust you because you are providing them with this free content that shows that you are the expert. So for the purposes of today's sort of 1 hour overview, I've broken down the blogging process into 5 steps. Now, I didn't just pull these steps out of thin air. I didn't just take them from somebody else. I developed these after writing over 236 blog posts in 1 year for my clients. My lifetime blog posts, I don't even know what that is. It's got to be close to 600 or 800 blog posts by now. So based on that, I've developed 5 steps to make it simple. So today I'm going to go over very briefly a couple of tidbits from each of those 5 steps. The first step is brainstorming. You got all this stuff out here, but how do you know which ones of these to turn into a blog post? So I'm going to give you some tips on that. And that's something that we talked about last Wednesday in the group when Lindsay and I went live. We went into detail on this brainstorming component. So if you haven't checked that out, go back later this afternoon and check out that live that Lindsay and I did in the group. The next step is structure. There are a little bit of flexible structures and pieces that you need in a blog post. I'm going to go through some of those with you today. And then writing. Writing your blog post does not have to be scary, even if you think you're a shitty writer. I'm going to show you some ideas to make it easy so you don't get scared when I tell you to go and write something. Publishing your article, I'm going to share some tools that will make this easier. And finally, socializing and recycling. You can have a blog written by the best blog writers in the world like me, but if no one knows it exists, it's not going to do you any good.
Drinking water.
Oh, I'm just hearing a little bit of background. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, so even if you have the most well-written blogs, no one knows it's there if you don't share it, if you don't socialize it. And the recycling part comes in is I want you to be reusing your blogs in different ways to get the biggest bang for your buck. And I'll share about that when we get to that section. So step 1, brainstorming. I've got some new ideas for brainstorming that I didn't go over in the workshop last week. Last week, I focused more on some tools. Here are some more strategies to pull more of what's in here out of your head. Keywords. If you've ever had any keyword research done for your business, see if any of those jive with blog topics. If not, there are a lot of free tools you can use online to put in some words related to your business, and it will suggest different keywords. Some of those may strike an idea in your head. Frequently asked questions. We get them all the time, and we hate having to answer them over and over again, right? So why not turn a question that you get asked all the time into a blog post? It'll save you time answering it, and you know it's something that people want because they're asking for it all the time. Stalking. Go stalk some people in a fully legal way. I'm not condoning any illegal actions here. You could say this is competitive research. So go and see what people in similar industries, similar businesses are writing about, and write about something similar or add your own perspective on top of that. Ask. You can ask people that are following you on Facebook. What kind of things do you want to know about what I do or about my industry, about my products? What do you want to know? Just ask. If you have a brick and mortar store, if those still exist anymore, ask people as they come into your shop, hey, thanks for buying this product. Is there anything you'd like to know about this product that I could put in a blog post? Just ask. Be honest. People are more than willing to provide their opinions, their ideas to help you out. Templates. There are headline templates that you can use where you just fill in the blanks with something in your industry. That's a freebie that I can send along to anyone that wants to contact me. I've put together this download that you just fill in the blanks with your industry, your specifics about your company. Also think about what, how, why, and best. So a few years ago, before we had my daughter, whose birthday it is today, we knew we were going to have another kid. So we figured we had to upgrade from our little 4-door Mazda to a family SUV. When we did that, I didn't go search in new car in Google. I searched, what is the best family SUV? So think about what kind of questions people are going to be asking and putting in Google when they're looking for your business, and write a blog topic about that. So here's just a screenshot from that freebie I mentioned, that if you want to download, talk to me or talk to Lindsay, we can get that to you for sure. Okay, if you missed the live, I'll briefly go over this tool. This is the creepy tool, answerthepublic.com. Some people like the man on the front. I'm not, it's not my thing. You put in a keyword related to your business and it will come up with charts like this that give you examples of different topics around that topic or that keyword. Now I'm going to zoom in. It's a screenshot, so it's not the clearest, but you can see I typed in the word blogging and it's saying things like why blogging is important. Why blogging is important for business. Right there. There's my blog title. You know, it's perfect. And this is just one of, over 400 suggestions that it could give you. It's an amazing tool. It's one of my favorite tools. And like I said, if you want to see a couple more tools that I demoed last week, check in the live with Lindsay and I from last week and you'll get some more tools like this. Step 2 is the blogging structure. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the different pieces that you need within your blog posts. One of those is graphics and imagery. You could write your blog without any images, but it won't be engaging enough. We need to have some images to break up that text. So I've written down just a couple of my favorite sites that I use for stock photos. These are all free to use, free for commercial use, and you don't have to attribute it to the photographer, which is great when you're doing your own sort of business branded graphics. You don't necessarily always want to put photography by so-and-so. So with these sites, you don't have to. Just make sure though that in case anything does change, I don't want anyone to get at me, check the license restrictions before you download, just in case anything changes from now and when you watch the recording, just to cover your butt. Once you download those images or use your own, you may want to do some light photoshopping to them, adding in your logo, watermarks, text, whatever that is. And these are just a couple of the free tools. I'm sure many of you have heard of Canva. Free, online, pretty easy to use. And the free version is more than enough for most of us. If you've got some skills, if you've got the mad skills in Photoshop, download Photoshop. It's my favorite. I have more flexibility that way. There's also free open source Pixlr and GIMP. They're not pretty, but they can work. So there's lots of options to make these images your own. Because especially when you use these images from the site, you're not the only one using it. They're free. Everybody's using it. I've seen the same stock images everywhere. So add something that makes it your own. So now I'm going to go into some nitty-gritty about the different pieces that you should have in the average blog post. Now, depending on the format and the type of blog post you're writing, this may not apply, but this will probably apply to 95% of what you're going to write. So the first one is that blue box at the top. That's my image. I'm not graphically inclined. That's my image. Deal with it. Make sure that your image is either across the top like that or that it is right aligned so that you have the text kind of flowing along the side. That is the best. And make sure that's the first thing that they can see on your page. The next thing is your headline. Obviously, there's no surprise there. Make it catchy. I think I've got some tips later on for writing really good headlines that I'll teach you today. Your first sentence should be your lead. It should be something to really attract people's attention, make people want to keep reading. What can you say that will startle them, that will surprise them, that will say, oh my goodness, I can't believe that, I got to keep reading. Figure out what that is and use that as your first sentence, your first paragraph to just pull them in, just lure them in. Now, this next one is what I see a lot of people not doing, and it is very important. It's that expectations. This can be something as simple as, here are my 3 tips to do X, Y, and Z. Here's what I think about this topic. Here are the ways to do this. It's setting up what's going to come below. For example, I'm a mom. I don't read long articles. So if the expectations line was 101 ways to do, here are 101 ways to do this, and I know now is not the time for me to read 101 ways.
Hang on one second. Ashley, I can't hear you. Nikki, can you hear Ashley? Yeah, we've lost your sound. Hang on, I'm going to hit pause on the recording, guys. We'll be right back. Recording, not yet. There we go. We're back to recording. We can hear you now. Thank you. And while you were sorting out your sound, we all just quickly shared how many of us are not using a lead in our blogging, and it's a lot of us. So already blowing my mind. Continue, Ashley.
Thank you. Okay, technology. So you have your lead, your expectations, and then you want to do your body content. So your body content is the juice, the tips, the 5 steps, the 3 steps, whatever it is that you're sharing. After that, you want to just briefly summarize a couple sentences what your key takeaways, what you want the key takeaways to be from that blog post. And then you have some sort of a call to action. Every blog post, no matter what you do, should always have a clickable hyperlink to somewhere else, preferably your own content. So this could be, here's an article on a similar topic that I wrote. If you liked this, book a consultation with me now. Subscribe to my newsletter. Check out this product if you're talking about a product, as long as you have somewhere for them to go, a clickable link. Now, when you look at sort of this section here, one of the questions that people ask me all the time is, how long do my blog posts need to be? You know, the SEO gods out there keep on telling us 2,000 words each. And that is utterly ridiculous, not sustainable for the most of us. Even for me, 2,000 words is a lot to write.
Can I ask really quickly, why do are you going to explain why and what the difference is? Okay, great. I'm not even going to ask my question. Go.
So the reason they say that is for SEO. Longer content means that you obviously have more to say on the topic, so Google thinks you're more of an authority. So from an SEO, from a Google ranking perspective, 2,000 words is a great thing to do. But I personally believe that providing value is more important than providing stuff that Google likes, right? So what I always recommend is 400 to 500 words if you're going to be posting on a regular basis. That's enough to get across a couple of points, and you can always break it up into multiple blog posts. That's possible too. So when you're thinking of, say, a 500-word blog post, you got your 500, as I hit my elbow, 500 words. Your lead and expectations will be maybe 100 words. Your summary and call to action, another 100 words. And if your article was 3 ways to do X, Y, and Z, 100, 100, 100. So when you kind of break it down like that, it's a really good and manageable chunk. And that's a great writing tip.
So I'm going to ask one more question, if that's okay.
Yes.
Do you recommend that people every once in a while throw out a 2,000 word blog just for SEO, but doesn't have to be the consistent one?
Yeah. If you have it in you to write it, don't let me stop you if you have more words in your head that you can get out. But in terms of, consistency is important in anything you do for marketing, and especially content. So if you want to maintain, a blog a week, 2 blogs a month, blog every couple of weeks, stick with that 500 because it's manageable. You don't want to overwhelm yourself, especially if you're not comfortable with writing. So yeah, definitely throw it in there. If you got it, write it. That's what I say. Speaking of writing, that's a good segue. Step number 3 is about writing your blog. So I know that a lot of us get writer's block. I've been writing for 15 years. I still get it. So I'm going to share some tips and a process for you to help overcome writer's block. The first thing is to set your stage. And by that, I mean like your workspace. So we were talking before about my addiction to coffee. Before I go and write a piece, I need to have a coffee next to me, or a tea. I don't just drink coffee. I don't exclude. Or my water. I need to have a beverage. That's for me. And I know that my mouse has to be here. My paper has to be here. I have to be sitting like this, here, there, favorite chair. I set my stage and I make it the same every time. The next thing you do is you write an outline, if you can, of what you're going to do. So you can take that blogging structure slide and just write out, this is what my lead's going to be about. This is what my 3 points are going to be. And then you can start with that as opposed to starting from scratch. It kind of gives you a little bit of a structure to work with. Now, the next one, you'll remember in my intro, I told you that I was also a mother. That's why I've chosen this particular language for number 3. Create a puke draft. You may have heard this as stream of consciousness writing. I'm a mom. I deal with puke on a more regular basis than I'd like. So it's a puke draft today. If you don't like it, change it for whatever word works for you. Essentially, I want you to just sit down and just write. Just write, if you paper, whatever that is, just write. Whatever comes to mind, whether that's actually on the topic at hand, whether your grocery list or your honey-do list ends up on there, just write. And eventually, the longer you do this, you'll start bringing in that information. It'll start coming out. So just write as long as you can. Don't worry about grammar. Don't worry about spelling, structure. You can doodle it. You can point format. You can sentences, whatever you feel you need to do. After you've done this puke draft, it's time to clean up the puke a little bit. You want to put in some headings, structure, grammar, spelling, all of that stuff. After you've written that piece, you've got it into a structure that, you're kind of feeling okay about, but you're not quite sure. Again, I'm a mom. Time out. Take that time out, get some distance from what you're writing. Come back, an hour, next day, 2 days from now, look at it again. You'll see it from fresh eyes. So if you've accidentally skipped out a word, your word processor may not know that you've skipped a word, so it won't tell you, but you'll see it if you look at it in a day or two later. So I said I'd talk about headlines. I have developed these 7 tips, 7 little pieces that should be in the ideal headline. Now, when I used this slide maybe 4 or 5 months ago, I actually called this Great Tips for Viral Headlines. But right now, I don't think that's the best title to throw in here. So I've just put great headlines, but you know what I mean. Headlines that have the chance to spread. You know what I mean? Anyways, let's get into this. Great headlines, great shareable headlines use numbers and lists. This is a format called listicle, Listicle. It's essentially just throwing in a number. 3 ways to do this, 5 things you need to know about this, 101 ways to do this. Because we know that when we're scrolling Facebook, Twitter, whatever, we see letters, we see words all the time. But when we see a number, our brain stops because there's something different. So those numbers are great to sort of catch attention. Great headlines also appeal to emotions as much as possible, and I'll show an example of this in a minute as well. You want your headline to have a little bit of urgency to it. So you know how on Facebook, if you see an article, you can bookmark it and save it and read it later? I have to tell you that if someone saves your article to read later, do you think they're really going to read it later? Nope. Most of people won't. So put something in your headline to create that urgency that they have to read it now or else the world is going to end. I guess I can't say that now either. Man, this slide is no more fun. Okay, this one's fun. I want you to embellish a bit, but I don't want you to oversell. So I don't want you in your headlines to say this process will make you a millionaire overnight, unless it's true. And if it is true, please share it with me because I would love to be a millionaire by tomorrow. So just don't oversell. You can embellish. You can say this can double your business in a month. This could whatever. Make sure it's backed up somehow. Don't just be clickbaity and say you're going to be a millionaire overnight, lose 100 pounds by tomorrow. We don't want that. Our shit meters will go up when we see that. And we don't want those to go up. Use second person in your headline. So use you. 5 things you need to know. It's a little bit of a sneaky trick, but it makes people feel like you're talking directly to them, even though you're not really. But it's a good little tip to throw in there. And finally, try to keep it under 70 characters. So that's characters, not words, including spaces. And the reason we do this is Google only shows 60 to 70 characters. So if you have a longer headline, it's going to get chopped off in Google and people will miss something. So what I've done is I've taken these 7 steps and I've put the hypothetically great viral headline that kind of fits all of these, textbook pretty good. 5 powerful ways blogging can 10 times your influence and your business this year. So I've got 5 powerful ways, got 5, that's my number. I'm appealing to emotion because I'm using the word influence. For the audience for this hypothetical post, people want to be influenced. When you see that you can become an influencer, most of us are like, ooh, yes, please. I've used urgency. I could probably have used it better, but I said this year, I put a timeline to it. I could say this month or this quarter. That's a bit of an oversell in my case. I've embellished a little bit by saying 10 times. I didn't say 100 times. I didn't say blogging will make you a millionaire. I was, and I can back up these stats, right? I've used second person. I said your influence. And this is exactly 70 characters, maybe give or take one or two. So it kind of has all of the elements of that ideal headline. Now, some other words that you may want to include is something called power words. These are a drop in the bucket of all the power words out there. You need to find the ones that really fit for you. So for example, for like Lindsay's community, throwing in a power word like rad, that could have some power to it. And that works for her brand. But Nikki, it may not work for your brand as a massage therapist, unless you are a really rad massage therapist. There we go, the rad therapist. I'm rebranding your company now, sorry. But throw in power words that make sense for your business. For my business, I like using the word amazing, but for others, it's overused. It doesn't work. So figure out what words make sense and see how you can throw those into a title, just to add that little extra oomph to what you're saying. Just make it slightly more powerful. Okay, so I did say that SEO is a big thing in itself, but I've got a couple of quick little steps that you can use when you're writing a blog post to help make Google like it a little better, to flirt with the Google a little bit. The first one is to pick what your keyword phrase is going to be, taking that educated guess at what people are searching for in Google when they're looking for your kind of business. Now, that's probably half of the big 3-hour search engine optimization course, how to pick the right keywords, where to find them. But let's just assume you've got them. You can even take a stab in the dark at this point. It's not a big deal. Once you've picked that phrase, it's usually a phrase of 3 or 4 words, use that phrase 2 to 3 times in the body of your blog post. So that works if your blog post is about 500 words, which equates to about 2%. So, double that if it's a little bit longer of a blog post. Also include that keyword in your page title, so your headline, in the URL for that blog post if you can, and in something called the meta title and description. This is that little title and description that shows up in Google when your blog post shows up or when your web page shows up. And also include it in something called the alt text. That's that little tiny text that shows up if for whatever reason an image doesn't show up. So it's great for accessibility, but Google also looks for that as well. So if you can pick the keyword and use it in all of these spots, you have a better chance to be ranking for that keyword, to show up when people search for your keyword. Now, there are other factors in play in SEO aside from just doing this, but this is a great start that anybody can do right now without any specialized knowledge or hiring any contractors or anything like that. So step 4 is publishing. Now, there are many platforms that you can use for blogging, so I can't really go over the specific steps. But what I wanted to share today is a couple of my favorite blogging tools that you can use while you're publishing, while you're creating the content to be published. My favorite content management system, CMS, is WordPress. It is the most robust, it has the most flexibility, and it's the best long-term solution. Now, you may be saying, but I want to use Wix or Squarespace. It's free, it's cheap, I want to use it. And if you want to use it, go ahead, but keep in mind that you'll have less flexibility and it's not the best long-term solution. So to get your own custom WordPress site and hosting and domain name, you're looking at maybe $200 a year, depending on who you get it hosted with. So it's a good business investment, and I highly recommend that you do it. Cloud storage. So I always throw this in here because blogging, you may not be doing blogging by yourself. You may be working with a virtual assistant, a team, you may be hiring a contractor, a writer, editors, whatever that is. Start storing things like your blog drafts, your images in a cloud storage solution like Google Drive, OneDrive, Dropbox, whatever that is, so that if you do need to share files with anybody at any point, it's there and it's not just on your computer. Your computer drops or gets hit by a bus, you've lost all your stuff. If you want some help with editing, look at using Grammarly. It catches most things. It catches a little bit more than Word will catch or that Google Docs will catch. And the free version is great. I throw it in mine too because I miss words here and there. So throw that on there just to give it an extra check. Always make sure you're tracking some kind of analytics with your website. It will help you sort of quantify how you're doing, how many people are seeing your content, what content people like the best. And I recommend Google Analytics because out of the box, it gives you everything you need. And if you have the ability to, upgrade, customize it, get additional training, the information that Google tracks on us is kind of creepy. But in terms of marketing, that's the kind of stuff we want. And it's all obtained legally, so don't worry. But I do recommend Google Analytics or anything else that might be built in just so you can get something in there. So we talked about headlines earlier. Once you write your headline, throw it in this URL here, and it will give your headline a score on how it ranks on things like emotions and unique words and power words and all this stuff. And it will give you suggestions on how you can tweak it to make it a little bit better. So it gives you a score between, I think, 0 and 100. I've never gotten 0. I've never gotten 100. I don't know if it's possible. When I throw them in the first time, I usually get around 60, which is pretty good. And then I can bump that up to a 70 or 80 with their suggestions. So you want to aim for like a 70 or an 80. And take it with a grain of salt. It uses some weird algorithms, but it can help you sort of add some power words in there and make some good suggestions for you. We're going to talk about promoting your blog in a couple minutes here, but use email marketing, whatever you use, MailChimp, Constant Contact, Emailer, Lite, whatever else is out there. Make sure you've got something. Use a social scheduler like Hootsuite, Buffer, Later, Planoly, because when you write your blog post, I also want you to be pre-scheduling a bunch of social media posts to go live. I always say 6. Fingers up here, 6. One goes live, one social media post goes out the day your post goes live, and then a week later, a month later, 3 months, 12 months, 6 months. So you're kind of promoting it on autopilot. So as long as the content that you're writing is still going to be, evergreen, is still going to be relevant a year from now, do it like that. Then you can schedule an autopilot and it's less effort. And lastly, I'm not going to go into these because I talked about this earlier. Graphics, Canva, Photoshop. I showed some stock photo websites as well. Okay, the last of the 5 steps is about socializing it and recycling it. Again, I'm going to do this at a very high level and give you some actionable tips. There's more that you can learn about this, but I'm just going to give you sort of a bit of a teaser and some stuff that you can get working on. So here are some ways that you can share your blog post without being spammy on social media, because we don't want to be that person in the groups that's constantly spamming our content. Set it up to auto share your new blog posts on your social media channels. There's integrations, there's plugins, there's a program called Zapier that you can use to set it up where every time a new blog post goes live, it automatically posts it to your Facebook profile, to your Twitter profile. That's one less thing you have to worry about, and you can customize that text. So that's a great thing to do. I hinted at this earlier too, pre-schedule those posts on your page for the next couple weeks, couple months. I also like to have 2 or 3 written for my back pocket, which basically means the Notes app on my phone. Because I may be scrolling around, in the Radical Connectors group, and someone says, "Oh, how long should blog posts be? How long do your blog posts be?" I might see that and I'll be like, "Oh, I wrote a blog post about that." I can copy and paste some stuff that I'd pre-written so that I can be the first one to respond. Because when you're that first one to respond with the juicy information that they need, linking back to your blog post, you're more likely to be seen as that authority, be seen as someone who's listening, being active, and it's a great way to grow your presence and just being there, really. Also, this specifically applies to Facebook. Know what the sharing and promotional days are. In a lot of groups, you're not allowed to share your content or your stuff on certain days. A lot of my groups, it's Shameless Saturday or Sharing Saturday, and you can't really share your stuff any other day of the week. So just make sure that you're not being spammy and sharing when you shouldn't, and just know what those days are for your group. Okay, this picture is totally off brand. It's got none of my brand colors, but I couldn't resist using it. I'm going to briefly share how you can multiply your content like bunnies. And who can say no to a cute little bunny picture with a dandelion? I mean, come on. So part of marketing your content is figuring out how you can use that content to create other pieces of content and then spend less time doing it. So that's something called recycling or repurposing your content. So by turning your next blog post into all these other different formats, you could get more clients and customers because you're posting on different types of platforms. You're posting on video platforms, podcasts, SlideShare, whatever that might be. You can be more productive because you're creating one piece and you're just reusing it in different ways, as opposed to creating 20 different pieces. You could turn one blog post into 20 different pieces with less effort. You can get more email subscribers, and that's something we all should be aiming for. If you're not already, you want to be having things like lead magnets that people will enter their email and then you email them this free thing. Your blog post could turn into a lead magnet, a checklist, a cheat sheet, whatever that might be. You have a chance to get a higher Google ranking. So if you've got your blog using the same keywords as a video, as a podcast, and someone searches in for those keywords, you're going to be 3 of those sites. So 3 out of 10, you're more likely to stand out than if you just had 1. So by creating all this different content, you're reaching more people. You are providing it in the ways they want to learn, because not everyone wants to read. Not everyone wants to listen to a podcast or watch a video. So when you can create all these different formats in the easy way, of course, you're reaching all these people. So with one blog post, I like to say you can reach, this dozen or so people, which is great. They look active, they look like they're going to buy stuff. But if you can turn that one blog post into 20 or 30 different other touch points, you could reach a whole stadium of potential customers, potential clients, whatever that might be. And everyone here, some of them want to read, some of them want the video, some of them want the audio, some of them want to download. Whatever that is, they're all on different platforms. You can reach more people because we want to increase our reach, our targeted reach in our business. Very briefly, I know we're kind of coming up to time here. A couple of case studies of people that have done this kind of repurposing. Buffer is a social media scheduling tool, and they decided for 1 month, no new content. They would just reuse stuff they'd already have and create different formats. And they saw a 4% increase in links to their website from Google. Now, 4% of, a couple hundred thousand is pretty big for just reusing what they had. Here's an SEO expert from the UK who did a similar experiment on LinkedIn. He got 300 new email subscribers and a 76% conversion rate. Now, the average conversion rate across all industries is only 2%. And by reusing what he got 76. Can you imagine if you had 76% as a conversion rate in your business? Man, I'd be stoked. Now, again, the mother and me, Disney, Marvel, they do the same thing. We grew up with Winnie the Pooh, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin. They're remaking those movies now. There are rides in Disneyland. There's merchandise. There's a whole Marvel theme land coming, Star Wars theme land, all of this stuff. They're turning that story, that first piece, into all these other things. Marvel created a whole universe. So I'm going to share a very basic content repurposing example that you can use right now. It's very basic. It's very easy to do, and a lot of this could be automated. So you're going to write your blog post. That's the little WordPress logo. Once you've written the blog post, you're going to share it on social media. You can use that scheduling tools, whatever it might be. And then you're going to share it in your email newsletter. Right there. How many touch points is that? You got your blog, that's one touch point. Social media, let's say you do 3 or 4. And then your email newsletter, that's 5 touch points. And we know that people need to have more touch points with us before they're going to be a customer. The stats vary between like 6 to 12 touch points before they're willing to consider you. So we want to keep on increasing that. So that's what this repurposing strategy is. And of course, a more robust strategy that I teach in my courses and programs, expands on this. It adds in things like lead magnets, other social media platforms, videos, whatever that might be. But that's a bit too overwhelming for today. So let me briefly sum up, because I talked a million miles a minute. We had technical difficulties. There's so much more to know, but you have already learned quite a bit. here are the 3 sort of top level takeaways that I want you to sort of leave today with. Blogging will help you become that niche expert that people know, that people like, that people trust. We want to be that niche expert so that people come to us. Having to pitch yourself all the time in networking groups and online is tiresome, but to just have them coming to you is the best feeling in the world. And that happened to me in the past 2 weeks. I've had clients just coming into me because I've been doing this stuff. So I don't have to be going out there and trying to get new clients, cold calling. It's an amazing feeling. Blogging can be easy. Blogging is easy if you plan ahead. So I wasn't able to cover this portion today, but there's a whole strategy around creating your blog calendars, what you're going to write, creating processes to make this work. I'm working with a client right now who we're developing these processes right now to make it easier for her because she doesn't want to be spending all her time blogging and doing her content marketing. And finally, number 3 is you can recycle your content to get more from less. You can create one amazing blog post and turn it into all of these other touch points with your potential clients. The ultimate goal out of all of this is to become that niche expert, that trusted authority, that influencer, whatever words you want to put around it, because it is possible. Because I know that you're all good. You have lots of stuff right here. Let's show the world what you can do so that you can grow your business, take it to the next level, and whatever you want to do. Like, the future is yours. It's ready. Just start creating content, sharing it. You can do it. It's well worth the wait. It's well worth the effort to do it.
I'm like, is that it? I'm like, do I take the drinking as that's it? I love it.
Talking.
and you guys and everyone, come off mute if you're not in a noisy area. Come off mute and engage in conversation here. Really, this has been my biggest flag or banner I've been waving since everything hit, and that is that the future is here. The future is virtual, and content. Those who come out with content now are really going to, like you say, own that expertise in their niche market, establish that trust, and really grow their audiences, grow that know, like, trust factor, and walk out of this just rocking it. So I love it. Thank you so much, Ashley. That was wonderful. I took a ton of notes. I had to find my highlighter halfway through because I was confusing myself. Everybody, this is a chance to really pick Ashley's brain, ask any specific questions for yourself. I'm on hand here too if we want to double team and talk about some content ideas and strategy for you. The floor is yours, friends. So ask away.
I know there's more
questions.
you need to know. I know there's more. I've only covered the
No,
tiniest fraction of what you can know. You must have questions.
Yeah, this has been good. This has been a good door opener. Eric, what were you going to say?
I said so many questions. I just don't know where to begin. Well, hey, shit, that's my whole, that's the way I just kind of do things. It's just like, I have no idea where to begin. And it takes me about 4 years to finally catch up.
Right.
Hence the reason I'm on this call.
While you're thinking of where to begin, can I just share, in case y'all haven't noticed, when it comes to entrepreneurship, there is no beginning. You just dive in with whatever you want to do first, and the rest works itself out.
Yep. Start by, just brainstorming ideas.
Right.
You don't know what that's going to turn into. If blogging isn't your thing, maybe it's not. Maybe you want to do, some audio files or podcasts or whatever that is. But
the thing
either
is
way,
that
brainstorming's
and this, all the stuff that you're teaching, that applies to everything, guys. I mean, it's the same. Anatomy of a blog can be the same for podcasting or the same for YouTubing or whatever, right? And so, and the how you market it and how you research it. You guys, content is content, right? Eric, you got something for us?
So, bit of a general question. So I've done some posts in the past, but I mean, we're going back a bunch of years on that. And after a while, I decided to just pull it off the website, and then just kind of went, because we're looking at stuff from 2013, 14, 15, whatever it is. So I decided to pull it off. When, because it's not if, but when I'm going to start writing again, do you recommend kind of pulling up the old stuff and kind of go, okay, I took a 6-year hiatus here from writing. do I add the old stuff back in with the original dates, or do I kind of figure out if I can pull it without the dates, readjust the dates, although I'm not a big fan of doing that because it looks a little shady. So, I mean, what would be the best approach?
Is the content that you wrote back then still relevant today for the most part?
Yep.
And it's not on the website. It's not anywhere right now.
I mean, it's around. I mean, I still have access to it. It's just sitting in the background on WordPress anyway. So it's.
Yeah, I would say let's rework with what you've already got. See where you need to tweak, some of the language, updating for now, and put today's date.
Okay.
Nobody knows it existed before. You've updated it. If you go back and update any of your blog posts. Well, let's make everyone else happy. Those 3 people, they can just, whatever.
Okay, perfect.
But no, yeah, I would recommend, not knowing what the content is, of course, take what you've written, see where you can update it, tweak it, add new insights, publish it with today's dates, or, backdate it for a couple months. Maybe if you want to make it look like you've been online a little bit more recently. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with putting today's date on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as you've changed something, it's now today's date. It's like the last updated date.
Okay.
And if you're going through and you notice, wow, I didn't put a lead in, or I didn't have a CTA, if you're changing and adding things, right, you are refreshing it. And also remember folks that maybe read it 6 years ago, 7 years ago, when they read it now, they're not going to remember. And y'all, we need to hear and read and learn things over and over and over for it to stick. And so this is why, repetition and consistency, right? So you're good, Eric, you're good.
So add in the graphics, add in the lead, add in the headline, add in, more content, just rework the whole thing, click the
CTA.
end part. Yeah.
Call to action.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
I love it. Amazing.
Change as much or as little as you're feeling comfortable doing. It doesn't have to be everything. Just whatever needs to be
But
updated.
even just the ideas of the call to action, because I'm horrible with my newsletter. I could probably say over 2 hands, that's probably how many people I have on there on the newsletter list. So.
Right. I mean, now is the time to start building that out, right? It's just.
Well, that's what I'm kind of spending a little bit more time realizing that this nowadays and you're just kind of seeing where the trend is going online and just in general, I've got to kind of kick it into gear.
Yeah. And the great thing is that it doesn't have to be all or nothing. I mean, you can produce one piece of content once a month and then, as Ashley said, repurpose it. And so you might break it up into smaller bite-sized, key phrases and put them into social media posts. And you may shop it around on a podcast or Facebook lives or something and say, hey, I'd love to come talk to your community about this. It's all the same content. It's the chunk of it, but you can have fun breaking it up into different ways of sharing the same thing. So you're not thinking about having to write a blog every single week, but you can take that one topic and create 5 or 6 or 7 different types of content around it. And that, again, you can plan it out, you can schedule it, you can spend, pick a day or pick half a day where you do all the things and schedule all the things and break it apart. And then you don't got to think about it anymore. Right.
Yeah. There's so many easy ways to do it. Yeah.
Thank you.
I love it. Thanks, Eric. Okay, Min and I'm like, Nikki, who's the other person? I don't see you guys on screen. Do you have any questions? Min, I'm sure you've got some questions. You had a question around how long should the blog be. It was in a private group though, Ashley, so I couldn't tag you. Otherwise, I would have tagged you.
Yeah, so 500 words. 500 words.
I like that. And I like the way that you broke it down too into 100, 100, and then 300 for the 3 points, right?
Just makes it a little bit more manageable.
Right.
500 words can seem overwhelming.
Yeah.
And you do the same thing if it's 1,000 words, if it's 2,000 words, you just break it out.
Yeah.
I do that all the time when I write for my clients.
I like your philosophy. If you got something to say, say it. If you got the words in you, put them out there, right?
Yeah.
All right, Nikki and Min, do you have any questions for us or for Ashley? I know I kind of keep jumping in. I get too excited. I can't help it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you guys can hear me. My internet has been wackadoodle. Can you give an example of a good lead? Let's say you were writing a blog about how to blog, 5 tips for blogging. What would be an example of a lead?
Well, in that case, for example, it could be something even something similar as, did you know blogging can bring you 13 times more leads to your business? I pulled in, that startling fact. The way I do my blog posts, because it works with my brand, is I usually I could start with something just really crazy, just a really crazy phrase like, oh my goodness, you have no idea how amazing blogging is. Things like that, whatever works. But things like startling statistics, just anything that'll make people stop in their tracks or make them want to know more. So give them a little bit.
Yeah. Nikki, why don't you tell us one of your either recent blog posts or one you're working on, and maybe we can come up with one for you right now.
Yeah, I have one that I'm working on. I'm not sure if I want to share it now because, so I'm a massage therapist. My business is closed. So the call to action lately, normally it would be book with me, but that's not. So lately the call to action has just been follow me on social media or subscribe to my mailing list to be the first to know when I'm open. And so one of the blogs that I wanted to do is about tipping. A lot of people are unsure of the etiquette around tipping. Should you tip your massage therapist? How much should you tip your massage therapist? So I have this whole blog post idea of how I feel about that. I'm not sure if I should share it now because I'm not working. I have no idea when I'm going to work. So it's, should you tip your massage therapist isn't really relevant right now, at least not in Ontario, because massage therapists aren't permitted to work. So I guess one question would be, like, what would an example lead be for that? I feel very strongly that no, you should not tip your massage therapist, but that's a controversial opinion within the industry. And then my second question would be, should I share that now while I'm not working, or should I wait until I'm open?
Okay. Well, I would say if you have it ready, publish it live. Just publish it now. You're going to be sharing it over the next little while anyways, and you can share it a little more once you're back to business. And in terms of, say, like a lead, off the top of my head, you could even just ask a question. When was the last time you tipped your massage therapist? Just saying that, people will say, oh, well, I've never done it. Should I be doing it? Or, oh, yes, I do. Am I tipping enough? People have questions, and then you're going to go through and answer those. So whether the question is, yes, they've tipped their massage therapist, or no, they haven't, they're still intrigued, and they're going to want to read through and figure out and learn what your opinion is on that.
I mean, even if you said, do you really have to tip your massage therapist? Like, would that be a good lead?
Yeah. You're asking a question. You're making people think. You're putting people into a scenario. I mean, that's another way too I didn't share, is to put people into a scenario, paint a picture for them in that first paragraph so they feel engaged and, a part of it.
And I mean, the other thing too, this just whatever, my strategic brain is going. But I think, okay, so if, let's say, for example, Nikki's brand is super sassy and direct and straightforward, and she could be like, why I refuse to tip massage therapists. Like, you could come out a little bit bolder even, and controversial, right? Because it's kind of on, well, I don't know if it's on brand for you, but do you know what I mean? like, you could, if you wanted to, if that was with keeping within the tone of your brand. What do you think, Ashley? Controversy? Yes, no?
Yeah. I mean, especially for controversial topics, that's a great way to do it. Another thing you could do is more of a parody type post. You could say, yes, these are all the reasons why you should be tipping, but write it in a way that people know you're being a little bit, tongue in cheek about it.
Yeah.
I did that recently with a blog post for myself, and I had a lot of fun with it. I think it was the top 3 sites you should never use to brainstorm topics. But the way I wrote it, I was a little, tongue in cheek and sassy about it. It was clear that those were obviously great tools, but it's another fun way to kind of go around it.
Yeah, like, don't use Ask the People if you want to have 400 topics at the drop of a hat. Yeah,
I think that's exactly, almost exactly what I wrote.
Nice.
Was that line? Yeah,
I've seen those because they're always there because the headlines catch you, and you're like, I know that she's actually going to be saying you should use them, but I want to see how she does it. So
yeah, it allowed me to have a little bit of fun with that post.
Right. Eric, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, I mean, I'm sorry, did you say you are for or against it, Nikki?
I'm personally, I'm against tipping. I don't accept tips in my private practice, and I have a whole laundry list of reasons that I will go into when I eventually get around to writing that blog. But first and foremost, it's I'm a regulated healthcare practitioner, and there are no other healthcare practitioners that accept tips. And I don't think massage therapists should either. I think it holds us back.
No, I'm good with that. Thank you. Because I never tip mine. But I mean, what about even just a lead in, like, why you shouldn't, and get it really, so why you shouldn't tip your massage therapist. So you're either going to get people who, and especially if this goes onto a Facebook post or anything like that, where you've got feedback on both sides, you can actually get the people who are for it, getting engaged with it, and then the ones who support it or who support not tipping, you get the backup on that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, you create that I want to say animosity is not the word I want.
Controversy.
Thank you.
Controversy. Yeah.
Yes, that's what I was looking for.
Well, like you could also write, is tipping your massage therapist offensive?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because the thing is that you could have different blog, or you could have one blog title, but all the different ways that you share it, you can have different headlines or leads in the post, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. I love it. This is exciting. Vin, are you still with us, Vin? Do you have any questions?
Nope. Yeah, I'm still here. I don't remember what my question was. I had one, and then I was listening to the lead in, so I was like, oh, keep talking. It might come back to me.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what, you guys. Okay, Min, if it comes back to you, you can shout it out. If it doesn't, you can write Ashley and write it in the group. We're gonna wrap this up here. So, Ashley, I know that you have something special, a nice little freebie for all of us. So, hit us with it, girl.
I do. So today I covered, the 5 steps of blogging, very high level. If you're ready to sort of take it to level 2 and go a little bit more in depth, get some downloadable templates, watch me on video, talk you through each of these steps a little bit more, I'm giving everyone access to the Blogging Made Easy mini course for free. It's 5 modules, 5 videos. Each video is 5 minutes. There's a template or a resource with each one. So you have just a little bit extra. And this is something I normally sell for $27, but because you guys are so rad, I'm going to give it to you guys for free for coming to the webinar, for watching the replay, because I think there's a lot of value. And I mean, I really wish I had like 3 hours to talk with you guys about blogging, but this is just, part of it. And this is just the blogging part of it. There's so much more to content marketing that you can pull together to really show off that expertise.
I love it. It's a great segue in for people that are new, and for people who have been doing it for a while. I'm sure, again, like I've learned things, so it's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing this. And you guys, I asked her to talk really quickly because she is starting a cool new membership for content creators, and so I asked her to share a little bit with that with us on that one as well. So do it.
Yes, thank you so much. So last Tuesday, actually, this is perfect timing, I launched this new monthly program. It's called, obviously, the Caffeinated Content Club, because I love coffee so much. But what it is it is a group program where you get training, peer support, professional support, and resources. It's everything that you need to do your own content marketing or do some of it. You get access to my monthly live training. So it's like this, but with, an exclusive group on more specific topics related to blogging, content marketing. Every single template, resource, freebie, lead magnet I've ever created, you'll get access to in the resource library. Discounts on VIP support. If you don't want to do it all yourself and you want help with little bits of it, you get discounts off my normal rates. Mm-hmm. I also send you content prompts and support. So every month you'll get some, some kind of things to poke and prod at your brain to pull out some ideas. And you also get access to the Facebook member community for more support. Now, this is what monthly members get. Yearly members get another 5 additional values, which I don't have room for on this slide because it's already almost full. So the monthly membership is, easily worth $70 a month or more of support. And I'm going to give it to you today for $47 a month when I launch on the 1st of June. So in a week from now, it's $47 a month. If you want to take advantage of over $2,400 in value over the course of a year, I highly encourage you to get the annual membership. Get all of this plus so much more value and support and VIP access to me. So here is, if anyone wants to read more about it, writergal.ca/CCC for Caffeinated Content Club. Now, like I said in the beginning of the webinar, I want to reward people who come to these things to watch these webinars right now. So anyone that signs up and then sends me an email saying that you signed up because you saw this webinar, I'm going to mail you a physical copy of my co-authored book called Out of My Comfort Zone. It's got 10 short stories of women who are just killing it now because they've stepped outside of their comfort zone. So I'm going to give that to you for free if you sign up for this and mention the Radical Connectors group. And then one last bonus to really support people who are ready to go right now. And you know, this is for me. I want this support, this training. And if you sign up for a yearly membership, I will give you a free 30-minute consult with me to talk about whatever you want. And you can use that anytime in the next year. So the first 2 people to sign up and email me will get that.
I love it.
It's an amazing value.
Amazing. I'm super excited for your new content club, caffeinated content club, and entrepreneur. I mean, these things are so neat when you get to form. I've done memberships, I've done masterminds. They're so cool because there's so much like joint learning and camaraderie and support. Well, Min, you know, because you're part of our mastermind, right? Our Brilliance to Business mastermind. Like there's so much magic that comes out of it. So congratulations on the launch, on the upcoming launch. Super excited for it. And thank you so much for the generous offer and the bonuses. All right, friends. We are going to wrap it up. Min, did you remember your question?
No.
All right, you can connect up with Ashley after. Everyone, you're going to get an email with all the juicy links and all the things that you can do to continue to engage with Ashley and find out more. I will see you later this month. We're going to be going live with Cheryl Sutherland from Please Notes, and she's going to be talking about whether or not now is the time to launch a product. She's talking about getting a product going because I know a lot of us service-based business owners have been thinking about products in the back of our minds, and so she'll be taking us through the sort of the stages of knowing if you're ready to do that. So watch for that, the details and registration link coming up for that later today as well. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us live. Make it an amazing week. Last week of May, make it awesome, and we will see you all soon. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye, everybody.